Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our interview with Garret Grajek. Garret is a CEO at YouAttest, and is a certified security engineer with almost 30 years of experience in information security, and he is recognized as a security visionary in identity, access, and authentication matters. So, Garret, thank you for joining our Risk Management Show podcast today.
Love it. Thanks for asking me.
Absolutely. Garret, let's start, could you tell us a short story about your career path, what brought you to where you are right now, and what you guys at YouAttest are up to these days?
Thanks. At this time, we can make that the whole show, but let's just say hello. So yeah, Garret Grajek, I trained as a programmer. Just started out engineer, and that was very, very valuable because that's how my brain is wired. How do things actually work? We can't control things or understand how to govern things if we don't understand how they're actually written. So I was a programmer for many years, and then my career, as it is known today, started when I got a job as a sales engineer for a company called Security Dynamics, who eventually bought RSA. Okay. But that was my experience in two-factor authentication and got me into the cyber security world, which I've remained since. That was over 25 years ago. Fantastic experience at RSA. Coupled that with then going in Integrity, which was a single sign-on product. And then the way our brains work, I was like, why is no one combined two-factor and single sign-on? That's how I created Secure Auth from scratch and ran that for 10 years on the technical side. Then I did a bunch of AI work over at Cylance. And when I got bought by BlackBerry, I thought it was time to get back in the entrepreneurial world. And my friends that I created during my Secure Auth experience said, Garret, you were great in that Secure Auth experience, created a great IAM product. But what the world needs is a simple IGA, identity governance product, which is, I guess, why we're here today, to talk about governance and the lacking of tools of governance. So that's when I created YouAttest a little over 3 years ago, within stealth mode for the first year, and now with a full-fledged product for identity attestation. That's Garret, and that's YouAttest, up to speed in 2023.
Fantastic. Thank you, Garret, for your introduction. And I believe that we will have a very thoughtful conversation on the topic of protecting identity, governance, and zero trust. So maybe let us start. What you see, what are the key responsibilities and challenges risk managers and the CISOs facing in the protecting customer identities within their organizations?
That is the question we go on for the next hour. Okay, so and this is the real world, right? I mean, I love that. I love your audience, and you told me this is risk managers and a lot of third-party risk managers. Great. Here, our audience has this wonderful knowledge of the regulations, of compliance, of the controls that are necessary, and they're interfacing with the IT directors and the IT managers, and IT directors and the things are pushed on what? And I always say that they're pushed on functionality. Having run SEs and sales groups in authentication, I go, you got to remember your IT director is being pushed to get something out. I got to get this app out. I got to get these users added on. I got to get these data merged. They're pushed on functionality. And sometimes we, in the security and especially the governance space, aren't, and this is not me saying this, this was the head of the Institute of the Institute of Internal Auditors. He gave his commencement speech on 2022. I was there in Dallas, and he said, if there's anything I can do in my career, I would add more empathy. And that's, I think, what we have to do. We in governance, and I'm in 100% of governance because I have a governance product, have to be empathetic to the directors IT that we're working with that say, okay, I got it. You are driving the company. You are driving functionality, but we got to put some, curbs on this process. And if we build those curbs into the functionality, into the process, then we work together and it's much more harmonious. The director of IT gets to push out his functionality, and we in governance get to get the data, get the reports, and meet the guidances, et cetera, that we need to, and keep the company also secure.
All right. So, because we, as a risk managers, we always work as kind of from frameworks and from a lot of configurations. So, what strategies or frameworks do you employ in your real life to ensure the protection of customer identities within the organization?
Being American-based, I have to say that the number one that comes up is 853. Okay. 853 straight out, and not just for DoD, and then the it's compatriot, the CSF, a cybersecurity framework. Okay, so like the product I built, which is identity attestation, maps to this cybersecurity framework PRAC-1, -4, and -6. And when we talk frameworks, I do like the framework, and I do like what is being pushed around this for AC-6, the Prince Least Privilege. Jeremiah Salzberg from CDW, Chief Security Technologist, got up there and looked at it and said, yeah, he could have done it. He could have just talked, ISO, could have talked whatever, but he goes, I want to talk zero trust. I'm going to map it to one principle. And I was like, just waiting. What principle is that going to be? He goes, it's the principle of least privilege. If we are not getting a hold of our identities, right? And we're not organizing them in the right way. And that's us in governance. We're supposed to be pushing back at the directors and say, organize your identities, organize your groups into groups and roles so we can meet these controls. We're not doing that. We can't even begin to start on zero trust. And that's where I say, I took your question from frameworks, and I basically am talking mostly NIST 853, though I have a bunch of European customers as well that map it to the ISOs, and there's a lot of good tools out there to show how to map. And the most important control, I think, I believe, more important than almost 2FA, the most important identity control is PRAC-6, the principle of least privilege.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's start, go deeper a little bit about zero trust concept. What are you already described some, but let's go deeper. What are the key principles and pillars of this zero trust framework, and when it comes to safeguarding customer identity?
I love this question, and this is, I've always been on some panels, zero trust, with everyone from the Forrester founder of coining the term, John Kindervag, to Chase Cunningham, to all these other great minds in zero trust. And we're all in agreement that in 2023, by this time, if we're saying zero trust, we better have some concept of identities. And what I mean by that is zero trust, just articulated, and I'm also going to give his name, Jeremiah Salzberg's definition as well. But to me, the right way to look at zero trust is that we're reassuring the trust in each hop of the data journey. Now, let me say what I'm talking about there. I say, what are we talking about hops? Okay. In the old school way of looking at identity in data acquisition was you authenticate somewhere. I don't care if it's at the network level or you authenticate at the web level. You go there, and then you're given a session ticket, and you're basically given a free pass through the entire internal operation. Hey, I did a 2-factor at the front end, and and I got your blood type, and I got your what city you're in, so I trust you. And then that session ticket is transferred to the different mechanisms through the web journey, through the application journey, through the data journey, through the network journey. That's not zero trust. Zero trust, it says, yes, on the outside, I will do authentication, but at each hop, I will have a dynamic policy taking dynamic information that will help me reassert the trust of this user. And that's where I to this point in 2023, if I see something that calls zero trust and they aren't reevaluating the identity that is the key component in that session, it's not zero trust. It's something. It's security, fine. I mean, I'm not the only one who says that. The CEO of Zscaler said it too. It goes, if there's not an identity in zero trust, it doesn't matter. So what we need to be doing, we in governance, and I really do believe that we need to, in governance, push these regulations, be it the 53 or the stuff that's around CMMC 800-171. We should be pushing that zero trust is in each of these hops, and that identity, the identity is reconfirmed. And I'm going to expand a little on that, what I mean. To me, I don't believe authentication at the edge of just getting what they're up to is enough. I believe that in those hops, we should be dynamically analyzing that user for its action and compare it to users of other ones that are in that journey. And we can do this with AI. I built AI models to do this, and I'm building them right now. That if their actions, either in their current actions, are anomalous, or in the past are anomalous, their levels of trust should be different, and that should impact their journey in what they see and what they're able to exfiltrate from the enterprise. So that's my overview of zero trust. To me, zero trust is the acknowledgement that a one-time authentication and authorization fails, and we have to have continuous authorization throughout the journey of the data attainment.
All right. So, for example, in the event of that someone's identity is compromised, what immediate actions should they take to minimize the damage and to regain control?
Well, I think I love that sort of compromise. We all forensically understand when someone is compromised. It just makes obvious sense. Oh, we looked at this, and this is what we have to do is start pushing that systems have a better understanding of anomalous actions to understand when someone's compromised. Just to take it on the cyber side. Okay, we're in governance, we're talking frameworks, talking controls. On the cyber side, there is something called, I'm sure most of you audience gets it, is a cyber kill chain. Okay, cyber kill chain, introduced by Lockheed Martin, over 20, 30 years ago, said these are the standard patterns of an attacker. Okay, now it's been used by everyone in different ways. They're going to do their reconnaissance, they're going to do their intrusion, they have to get into our systems, they have to do an exploitation, they have to lateral movement, they have to obfuscate their actions, and then they have to exfiltrate. Okay, all right. What we need to be doing, and this is what we have to couple these actions of the user and couple them with zero trust. And what I mean by that is we can be understanding what anomalous behavior is, and then we should map it to what we're enforcing in zero trust. So let me just high level first. The first thing in zero trust is, and this is where everyone in this call can be part of. You are right now in governance roles at these enterprises. You are supposed to be enforcing PRAC-614. You're supposed to be telling these companies, we've got to get hold of our identities. So the V1 of all this is that we should be saying we can't be enforcing zero trust, not on our SaaS tools, SASE tools, SASE, our CASBs, our application firewalls. If we don't have it ownership and we haven't quantified our roles and groups in a dynamic and repeated way. That's V1. That has to be done. That has to be whatever. The next step in the zero trust journey is then having dynamic policies that look at the actions of the users and reinforcing.
All right. That's good explanation. So I would like to ask you a personal point of view. What is the major misconception or kind of in the identity governance field that you strongly disagree with?
I do that. It's I believe right now, because the tools that have been created have been so expensive and so difficult to deploy, that the majority and the majority of it, I say the new way of delivering technology, which is the managed service providers, completely ignore identity governance. They literally have nothing to do with it. And it's one of the reasons I believe we're being hacked so bad. It's too much focused on simply delivering the 2FA and simply delivering access with no oversight, no overseeing of what actions, who has been provisioned, what roles have been given, because the mechanisms that are for governance, the tools, have basically boxed out all the SMB and commercial IT managers and all the MSPs that are supposed to be managing SMB and commercial space. So I think the task of your audience right here is to not only look at your customers, and when I say SMB commercial, I mean up to 5,000 users. Okay, so we're not talking small companies, but I'm thinking you have to look at these companies and say, not only do you need to govern your identities, that is actively reviewing them. That is, no admin account should ever live in a system if no one's reviewed it in the last month. That should be a monthly process. And your users for all applications should be reviewed every quarter for what access. You and I and your audience knows that's not being done in most companies under 5,000 employees. It's not being done because they don't have the practices and procedures in place. And I mean bluntly, they don't have a tool that allows them to use and to quickly do these, what's called a user access review. And that's where YouAttest came in. I was told, Garret, you were great at Security. You helped me get a two-factor in SSO in. We're using this tool for provisioning, but there is nothing out there. The audience you have right here is great. They're going out there looking at controls, and yes, your customers maybe sent out some spreadsheets in the last 6 months to show that they did some attestations of the users. That is not good governance, and that's what our hacker friends love, because that encourages dwell time. That is, they get in there, they take over an account, and they stay in that account for months at a time.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's speak about your company. What's something your team have recently achieved that you are really proud of? I know you have been only 3 years in the business, but as a startup in this hot space.
Fantastic question. What I've been mostly proud of has been actively involved in high-end attestation projects, both in the finance and in the healthcare side. A pharmaceutical company had a project that was being reviewed by both EY and Deloitte. And they said, okay, these are the reports. This is the tool that creates the evidence for the new drug. We have to assert that everyone who was an input into this process does belong to heaven and is right to see this information and modify it. We had to build a 4-tier attestation process. This person had to approve. This person had to then acknowledge their approval. This person had to approve, and this person. It was 4 tiers. It was a project we took on with that workflow, with the ability to go back and forth in the stage. 3 can push back on 2, 2 can push back on 1, etc. We just took that on. So if you have these very intense attestation clients, be they in the finance or healthcare, that's what we were able to accomplish. And it was a huge win for them, and it was a huge win for the risk team, who literally was struggling and pulling out their hair how to come up with this type of solution.
All right, fantastic. My congratulations for this achievement. So, if we summarize our interview, if someone is who is listening would like to walk away with one or two major takeaways, what would it be?
Is that you got to start telling your customers, especially in the SMB and commercial space under 5,000, that identity governance is possible. Is possible. Positive. You can start actually looking at your identities, removing ghost accounts, removing orphan accounts, and removing excess privileges on all of your domains. What you as the risk manager are capable of, you're knowledgeable of a product called YouAttest, which has democratized the identity attestation process, which is you don't need a legacy system. It automates the identity recertification process, and you can bring it in. So just look me up, and look up Garret Grajek. As we were talking, there's only one of them on LinkedIn, so that's me. And let's say hello. We'll get started.
Maybe we have one more question. Time for one more question. So, how do you see the future of identity protection evolving in the face of advancing hackers hacking techniques?
There's one thing about IT. It is in identity in specific. It is the most fragile and need to be managed component. And the way I see the world going is same way as, once upon a time, everyone had furnaces in their home. I see managed services growing and growing and growing. That's why, to me, the pitch is we have to not only improve our processes, we have to improve who's doing the work. And I honestly see that identity is going to be more and more managed by outsourced communities, including the governance. Okay? Whereas services, maybe it'll be a layer of MSPs, and they're going to be managing, of course, they're managing the desktops and all that, but they're managing the IDaaS and the other components. And then there'll be services like MSSPs helping them with the specialty components. And that's where I see YouAttest has been working both at the MSP level and the MSP level, and also at the direct customer level. But I do see that the advanced functionality rising up in this cloud. That, right now, majority of identities are still managed here, okay? I see that being lifted up to the MSP level in the next 2-3 years, with the specialty services being offered by the MSSPs to the MSPs to whatever. So us in governance have to be doing a better job of messaging our story, our tools, our knowledge, not only at the customer level, but the MSP level, and then working with the MSSP level. That's where I see we have to be working.
All right, fantastic, Garret. Thank you very much for your interview. And perhaps we could further upgrade our partnership, because we have a lot of risk managers on our platform. So I advise your team to go on our platform, globalriskcommunity.com, and send some interesting documents and share some blogs and reviews of case studies. So
fantastic. We'll look into it.
And this is perhaps we can do another episode in the future to discuss another topic. But for now, thank you very much, and I look forward to working with you guys, and perhaps partnering with you on our platform.
Fantastic. Thanks for the time, and thanks for the microphone.
Absolutely. Bye-bye, Jared.